Welcome to Decode with Anu. Today we are going to talk about wealth, love, relationships, leadership and sex. And all these elements are part of a good life. And we are going to hear from somebody who has been my teacher for many years. His name is Raj Mali, and he has been doing international coaching as well as he did leadership labs in many organizations, including mine, in the past organization, which was very impactful. And now that he is an international coach, let's hear from him what is about coaching. Mm-hmm. And before we go there, I also wanted to tell you that I am so sure you're going to have very deep insights and aha moments while watching this podcast. And if you have any comments, any questions, please write to us. So, very warm welcome, Raj.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here with you.
So are we. Mm-hmm. So you do coaching. What kind of coaching do you do?
I say I'm a good life coach, which means I coach people into having a good life. So yeah, that's what I do. Help people articulate what is a good life for them and then help them actually live that life. So yeah, that's what I do.
And when you say good life, what does it really mean?
Okay. Good question. So I feel there is no standard answer to this question. When I start the coaching process, I always ask people that I'm working with as to what would be a good life for them. And for some people, good life means having lots of money. For some people, good life means having a great relationship with somebody. Sometimes a good life could be they are already doing well and they want to now leave behind a certain legacy. So depending on where the person is at the level of his own growth and maturity, they define good life differently. But I feel a good life is essentially a place when you reach, you feel a sense of ease and comfort, and you also feel a natural sense of gratitude towards life. I think that's a good life, when you have whatever that you need in your life, where there is nothing that seems to be missing.
I'm aware that many years ago you started the coaching journey. Yeah. However, in India, it's about 10-15 years ago.
Yes.
So how was your journey while working on being a coach and coaching others?
Maybe a little backstory. So I started my career as a writer, and then I went on to become an entrepreneur, and then I failed big time. I had close to ₹1 crore loan on my head, and I was all of 26. And I was really struggling and I didn't know what I was really doing. And that's one time when I had met a coach and I was asking him as to what is really happening. And he asked me a question which turned my life around, and he said, well, I know that you were doing well in this business and then suddenly it failed, but do you really love what you're doing? And I asked him, I said, love means everybody does work. I also did work. My dad was a businessman, so I thought maybe even I can do it. I didn't really look at it from a question of love. And then he said, what do you really love to do? And at that time, what I was really loving to do is I was part of an organization and I was volunteer there. And I was working with them to, they were doing a lot of transformational workshops. So, I used to go there as a support person and help them. And that's where I realized that, hey, I love this work. This work is about becoming better. This work is about breaking through. This work is about new possibilities. And that's the first time I got in touch with coaching. Okay. And I was very intrigued by my coach also. She was a woman. I had two coaches. One was a woman, one was a guy. And she asked me this question that, Raj, you have one specific ability and I think you don't utilize it much. I'm like, what is it? So he said, you really listen well. Okay, great. So I said, okay, I take it as a compliment and I'm okay. And then this guy coach that I talked about, he said, Raj, sometimes I really get amazed by the questions you ask. And I'm like, okay, so I know how to ask questions. I have to also listen.
You're listening and asking questions.
But the seal was done, especially in regards to coaching, when, because I was dealing with this tough situation, I had to also get out and I had to go out and do a job. And thankfully I was working in an organization which was really beautiful. I think I remember that work experience really, really fondly. I worked there only for a year and then I had to come back because of my cats. That's again a weird story, I'll tell you later. But that's where I met Mr. David V. And David V was this short little gentleman, Chinese gentleman, but based in US. And he had been a coach to Jeff Immelt, who was that time a CEO of GE. And for all of us, David V was like a quiet figure who exuded power, confidence, at the same time a certain calmness of a saint or a monk, you can say. And he was doing this workshop on developing coaching skills for coaching senior leaders. And somehow I got nominated and I became part of that. And that's the first time I really tasted the beauty, finesse, and the most importantly, the powerful ability to make a shift in somebody's life into coaching. So that's how my coaching journey started. So thanks to him. And because he said that, Raj, you have a gift. And if you don't use it, it would be a big shame. Not just for you, but for the world. And for me, those words were like too much. I'm like, oh, what do you mean by the world? He said, well, we'll need good coaches. We'll need people who can truly listen, ask the right questions, redirect people. Okay. So that's how it started. Yeah.
And today, do you think that coaching is really getting, not really importance, but many people need to be coached?
Yeah.
And what is the difference between coaching and therapy?
Oh, wonderful. So coaching is simply a process of helping person to get from point A to B, no matter what area of life that he chooses. And the job of the coach is, he is more like a course corrector. Whenever the person goes off, because most of the work that has to be done, the person is doing who's being coached. The coach is more likely a person who's managing the rudder of where the ship is going. Okay. That is coaching. Okay. So coaching is all about tracking performance, where somebody is, what somebody is doing, not doing. And it's also about learning to shake the mindset of the person who's approaching something. Okay. Therapy, on the other hand, is a completely different ballgame. Therapy, I believe, is all about learning to pay attention to what you have not been paying attention to. Okay, like the first form of therapy that I personally underwent, it was called transpersonal therapy, and this was during the time I was battling depression, and it was very difficult. I tried coaches and it didn't work, because therapy you need when nothing else is working for you. Okay, and hence that's why I coined this term called therapeutic coaching, because I felt that these two have to merge now. Okay. The beauty about therapy is therapy actually first slows you down. It gets you out of thinking, it gets you in touch with what you're feeling. And then it makes you experience feelings that you're constantly trying to avoid in a very safe space. Because once your body, your personality, your psyche can process that feeling and it gets integrated into your personality, you become free of it. And then it affects the performance again, then it affects your sense of well-being, then it affects how you show up in your world, show up in your relationships. So therapy in that context is quite essential in today's times, because we have entered a world which is too fast. And hence therapy is a good stop.
It's about taking a pause.
It's about taking a pause. It's about learning to pay attention to what you really need. It's about really slowing down and encountering everything that you don't want to encounter, that you don't want to face. And hence I believe that when they come together, it's a powerful concoction.
So at workplaces, when we have the small circles and we ask people, okay, let's do a check-in, how do you feel? But quite a few of them, they do not know how they are feeling, because they have never felt. And they really also don't know how to express it. Probably it's deep conditioning, which comes from the past. Like I'll give an example of my mother. My mother told me not to express my anger in front of others. And that's how I really didn't know how to express my anger. Eventually I learned through different therapies and workshops also that we did together. So having said that, what do you think? Why do people do not get in touch with their feelings? That they are not even aware of it.
Yeah, I think two things. First is we are never taught to distinguish between feelings and thinking. First distinction, something when I had to learn. Okay, so and I picked up something from my writing days. So you have this writer's wheel. I don't know if you have seen that or not.
No.
And which has all feeling words.
Okay.
And I now also use it in my workshops a lot. And if I want, maybe I can also share it with you. This wheel helps you tap into what exactly are you feeling, because they're only feeling words. So many times when you ask this question to people, it's a good idea to have in those meeting rooms the feeling words, because people don't know. You know, and
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, you know, people don't know what it means to share my feeling. We always, or they will just say, I'm feeling good, or I'm feeling bad.
Or I'm feeling nice.
Or I'm feeling nice, okay. And these are actually the most non-feeling words. As in, to describe a true feeling, you have to name it. Like when you're feeling good, it could be, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling relaxed, I'm feeling at ease, I'm feeling content. Like there could be so many variations. So first is teaching people that each feeling is distinct, each feeling is important. And when you're doing checking, especially in the organization, I used to have this in our little office that I had once upon a time, that in this office, all feelings are welcome.
Okay.
This was the message which was kept.
That's
Like in this office, all feelings are welcome. So people could sometimes come and share, how are you feeling? I'm just feeling very crazy right now. So in my office, I had this small quote which said, all feelings are welcome here.
I want to tell my audience, this is one of the best things to do. And I'm going to do this, to put up all the feelings and tell people, okay, how do you feel? Because then they are able to express.
Yeah.
Please.
Second, when you articulate the right feeling, that itself relieves you big time. You know, and this I've seen a lot in my own therapy when I was undergoing it, and also when I began to get trained. Because this is one of my habits, something that touches me, I go deep in it. And that's where I learned that, hey, there were so many feelings that even I was not wanting to encounter. I was not willing to feel through. For example, a feeling of rage. I had a lot of rage inside me. And because I had no access to feel it in a safe way, it kept locked in. And likewise, there are different feelings that people are dealing with when they are not really in touch with where the feeling is coming from. That's where the trouble brews. And in the organizations, I feel it's a good place to introduce people to this small feeling circle wheel. You know, put it on one of the walls and always ask. Maybe sometimes ask people to go, somebody is new, and we have that practice. Somebody is new, we'll first introduce them to the feeling wheel. I said, have a look at what you're feeling, and sometimes tell. So it feels like children, but we don't know. We don't know how to talk about it otherwise. So
So going back to the therapy and difference between therapy and coaching, I hear that when you acknowledge that these are your feelings, and you said about rage, and it can be of hatred as well.
Yes.
Then what happens after that?
Okay. Good questions, because even I had the same question. Okay, I figured out my feeling, now what next? Okay. What you discover when you encounter a feeling that you have been avoiding, that you discover that this is what you have been projecting onto a lot of people. Okay, so a big shift begins to happen. So for example, so I had trouble with certain people in authority and bosses who would speak a certain way. Okay, and
I'm sure some of them are going to smile at this.
And suddenly I was like, what about them? My therapist asked me, what about them really triggers you? And I say, I think they are very angry. They don't want to show their anger. And hence they use sarcasm. Okay, and which sometimes cuts you like a knife. You know, sometimes if a person gets angry and he throws tantrums, that's fine. But somebody passes a very, I would say, like really a piercing statement, like one that will really cut you. That is what used to get me very angry. And he just stopped me and he said, what are you not wanting to feel? And I said, they have to show me their anger. They have to tell me that they're angry with me. And they said, and last time when somebody showed you their anger, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, oh shit. And I remembered everybody who got angry at me, including my father. And what I did is I slowly began to cut them off my life.
Yeah.
And he said, interesting. So that's the projection. So whatever you don't like about others has a deep connection with you, because what the person is expressing is what you have a difficulty expressing. So I had difficulty expressing my anger, and hence all the people who can express their anger became my enemies.
I get a big aha moment here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear.
I can already see what's happening. Whether one of my loved one who really expresses the anger and how I have been reacting to it. So now when we are here, that's okay. There's an expression how to deal with that in that moment.
Yeah. So that two things. One is an insight. Second is integration. Okay. So when you're in therapy, you suddenly have an insight. Okay. So my insight was that, hey, I have to work with my rage, which is inside me, and I have to also relook at some of the relationships which I have discontinued or which I have created a lot of distance in order to protect myself. I have to also work with them. So integration process is most important in both coaching and therapy. For a lack of other words, I call it embodiment practice. Okay, and to give you an example, everybody knows yoga and exercising every day is good for the body, but that's knowing. People who actually do it are embodying the wisdom.
Okay.
So the last part of therapy and coaching is once you have a clear idea that, hey, this is what I need to change, this is the shift I need to bring in, or this is what I'm projecting onto people, which I have to take it back. This is where I have to ask a question, how do I now embody this? And I can also say that this is where rubber hits the road. If you can't embody your deepest values, if you can't embody your truth, if you can't embody who you are, you're a fake in the world.
Yeah.
And that gets found out.
And that could also be one of the reasons that people do not have that kind of patience to face your own truth and embrace what is surfacing.
Exactly.
And that's why the patient levels goes down.
Patience levels goes down, but if you look at life and the way it is designed, in your midlife, you have to face this. Like Carl Jung is one of my favorite, and there is a quote that he said, and it took me a long time to really see that it is true. He said that true life begins at 40. Before that is just a preparation. You're just playing around, figuring things out.
I completely resonate with this.
And I didn't like it because when I read it, I was 30, 35, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, so far I have done this, it doesn't mean anything? It's nothing. You know? So life is also designed in a way that in the afternoon of your life, you have to face everything. And if you have to live a good evening of your life, how you live your middle ages makes a big difference. And hence, I feel that it's a good idea to ask, what is it that I'm not embodying in my life? And I always say that whatever you seek, if you learn to embody that, you really go a notch higher, no matter what area of life you're working with. So for example, if you're seeking abundance, are you embodying abundance? A simple question.
What is abundance, Raj?
Abundance. So essentially I feel abundance is a state of being. To make it simpler, also at the level of feelings, it's a way you feel when you feel that you have enough, whether it is about money, whether it is about relationship, whether it is about time. And I believe that abundance is a state of being in which you feel safe, you feel taken care of. and it also empowers you to allow your inner child to do what it wants.
Inner child.
Inner child.
What is that?
So for example, if you see, and I see this with many of my clients, that when they start their abundance journey, one exercise I give them is when they begin to attract the kind of money that they want to attract, I say that you have to do 3 crazy things which you always wanted to do since the time you were a child, but you didn't do for lack of resources, lack of money and all of that. And you have to really do it. So, for example, one of my clients, he had never traveled abroad. And when he started making money, I said, you and your wife have to go to this trip. And he's like, oh, it takes so much money and this, that, like this is the first thing that they start with. And I say, you have to do it because otherwise, whatever abundance you have created will go away. And he got a little bit scared. He said, does it happen? I said, yeah, all the time. And this is just my personal theory, that the abundance comes our way for a reason and purpose. And the fundamental reason why abundance comes your way is to heal your inner child.
This is very interesting.
Okay. For example, when men get a lot of money, what do they buy? Cars. When men were kids, small kids, what did they want? Small cars. Same happens with women. What did women grow up with? They're beautifying their dolls. They're building these nice little homes.
So jewelry.
So the first thing they want when they have abundance is they want to have a big house. They want to dress up well. They want to look nice. They want to buy beautiful clothes. So it's for your inner child. And whenever your relationship with your inner child becomes healthy, that's also how you attract abundance. So in my journey, I have seen that abundance or a lack of abundance is an expression of how you feel about yourself and how you truly feel about life. And it's also an expression of what you truly believe. And hence, if you look at most of the work that happens around the world in the realm of abundance, happens around altering beliefs. For example, we have been brought in with this belief, especially in India, that money doesn't grow on trees. Okay, and that's the first thing we hear when we're children. Okay,
and you need to work hard.
And you have to work hard. You have to do things which are unpleasant, and all of that. And these are like the old world scripts that we have gotten, maybe our parents have. And hence today, if I look at it, I feel the most important abundance that nobody talks about is abundance of time.
True that.
Okay, because I have worked with people who have huge amount of money. They have realized some of their dreams, but they don't really have much time. Okay, does that mean somebody who is jobless, workless, and who has a lot of time is abundant? No. Because if in that time you are worried, there is no abundance. So my other definition of abundance is
you need not
when you
worry.
are free of worry.
Yes, that's powerful. Now, how do we create abundance? For example, time abundance.
Yes.
How to create that?
First step to creating any form of abundance is learning to be very honest with yourself and learning to be very honest with what you really want. So first step of creating abundance is, I normally say, sit with a pen and paper, articulate, confront to yourself, what do you really want? Let's say you said about abundance of time. Okay. If you want to create more abundance of time, you have to first come from a place of that you have a lot of time, which you are maybe now investing in places which are not really
adding value, probably.
Or sometimes you are doing things because you're supposed to do them.
Yeah. You should do this.
You should do them. Okay. If you wish to enjoy abundance of time, I also recommend a small exercise. I say that go on a trip. It could be I would say, very budgeted trip also. But spend 2 days in a place where you could have access to everything, right from your books to your phones to video and whatever. And you could, and I would also supply a small list of things to do. Okay. So if you really want to have an abundance of time, I normally say you start with walks.
You start with?
Walks. Okay. When you begin to enjoy long walks,
without any social media or music also?
Music, nothing. Okay. When you begin to enjoy that, and I'm using the word enjoy because initially you won't enjoy it.
Because
we
you're
are so
addicted
hooked
to
on
something,
to things. So when you free yourself and you begin to go for longer walks, you begin to actually encounter time.
True that.
Okay. And when you encounter time, you begin to feel that, oh, now what do I want to do? So I have this term, and this is thanks to my girlfriend who articulated it. So one day she misspelled. I was telling her how I'm spending my day, and she's like, it seems like you're making love to the day. And I'm like, I like that expression. So abundance of time is a time when you spent a day and you felt that you really made love to the day, which means you did things which were fulfilling, which truly made you feel at the end of the day very, very content with yourself. Maybe it brought you happiness, and you did what you love doing. So I feel that if you want to have an abundance of time, you got to know what you love.
And when you go back in the evening or you hit the bed, you feel that you had a complete day.
Yes. And I also add that for each one, the way abundance of time would look like would be different.
Yeah, sure.
And it's also an element of boundaries. Like for example, my work mostly starts after 11 o'clock. Before 11 morning time is my time, because I know that if I don't have a leisurely, quiet morning, rest of my day I can go topsy-turvy. So abundance of time also deals with boundaries. What is the boundary that you set? I think I remember what you were saying, that you set a boundary after 8 o'clock, you won't go out for these parties and socializing. I think that's good. The moment you set a boundary, you already have access to that state of abundance.
Yes. And also in the morning, I need about 2 hours to myself before I start working.
Yes.
How to attract wealth?
So let's first understand wealth. I believe wealth and money are two different things. They're not the same. Okay.
And what is the difference?
The difference is simple. Money is a tool of exchange. Okay. The moment you begin to create anything of value in this world, and if you're willing to trade it, willing to exchange it, you make money. Okay, that is what I say. Making money is easy, being wealthy is sometimes difficult because we don't have that mindset. Wealthy is when you don't have to work for money. That's my simple definition.
You don't have to work for money.
You don't have to work for money. The moment you're not working for money, you're already a wealthy person.
Little difficult.
Okay, so for example, let's say you stop working today. Okay, I'm sure with whatever balance amount that you have in your FTs and whatever savings that you have, you will be able to live for a certain duration, which could be from 1 month to 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever.
Correct.
Whatever amount of time you can live without having to work and think about money is the time you're wealthy. If you're not, you could be rolling in crores. And I have some clients, I call them, you are poor rich people. Because having money does not make you wealthy.
Right.
Having huge amount of passive income, which is like now a big thing nowadays, doesn't really make you wealthy. Okay. Wealthy is a state of mind, and also in reality you have so much that you're not really worried. You're not really thinking where I'm going to be paying my next bills to. Okay. However, there is one more distinction I want to make between wealth and money. It's not always money which would make you feel wealthy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But money could bring you a lot of things okay, which could bring you happiness, which could bring you good memories, which could bring you good experiences, which could bring you a sense of feeling alive, And hence I feel that money is a powerful tool. Yes, when you have a lot of it, you can build yourself to become a wealthy person, but that requires a certain mindset. For example, all wealthy people have investment mindset. People are only focused on money, have an earning mindset. And these two are different mindsets. And this is a journey even I had to go through. I was very good at earning money, but I was not really good at investing. And it took some friends, some dear people in my life, like my business partner Manisha. She was the first one who really got me to understand that wealth is different, Raj. And I began to feel that, hey, if I can make money, that means I can be wealthy, but which is not true. You have to really look at wealth from a point of view of, can I really do something which I really want to do, when I want to do, how I want to do. When I have freedom in all these, I'm truly wealthy. When I have one of the thing is absent, in that moment you're not wealthy. But that's how I define it. Okay, but that is my definition of it.
What is sacredness of money?
So if you look at money as a thing, what is it? You can say it's notes, or in today's world, when we are in the world of GPay, it's digits. But if you truly look at money as energy, energy that can flow into your life, that's where money begins to become sacred. Sacredness of money is more like how you relate to it. For me, I am very pleased with money, and I also love money because I feel it helps me live my life the way I want to live. And anything that helps you do that kind of becomes sacred. So let's look at the word sacred also. Sacred is, if I have to go back to the old terminology, it's like something holy, or something which is very pure, something which is very simple yet has an ability to elevate yourself. When I use the word money is sacred, what I mean is money can also be ugly. Money can also be devious. Money can also be a limitation. Okay. But all of these things are your interpretations of it. At the core, money is a very neutral thing.
Money is money.
Money is like, if I have to bring out a note is a note. Okay. Wow, how I relate to it defines the sacredness. And I guess here Indians were quite wise. So if you see, we have this term called Lakshmi. And what does Lakshmi really mean? It's a certain way that you experience life. Okay, and there is this whole dimension of Lakshmi Putra. Okay, the one who is the son of Lakshmi is somebody for whom he doesn't have to think about money. Okay, so money,
it's already existing.
It is already existing. It's something which simply is, but it is your relationship to it is what makes it sacred or profane. Okay. In today's time, I think what we are more used to is the profane use of it, like the shosha of the world and crazy stuff that people do with the money. I know of a millionaire who went out on a cruise. He took all his friends with him. They all were outside, and his dream was to burn this cruise boat because he could afford to do it. Now, if you see, you don't know the craziest thing people do when they have money. But if you ask me, that's simply a sign of the unhealed inner child, which wants to do these things. So when you do these things, your relationship with money shifts. Then it is only becoming an expression of your own inner unhealed child or demons, and that's how you express it. And the second way money becomes sacred is how you use it, what purposes you use it for. I don't define it from the context of good and bad, but I define from the context of, if your money is not truly empowering you, people in your life, people you work with, then you don't have a sacred relationship with money. But when you have that, when the money empowers you, it empowers people in your life, it empowers people you work with, then I could say you could have quite a sacred relationship with money.
It's also when you spend, Raj, for others, when you're paying bills, for others. And how do you feel at that time? Are you expecting that person to do the same for you, or you're doing it out of that I want to joy, that you and you enjoy paying for others.
True that.
So that also brings out the Lakshmi consciousness.
Yes.
And it is also said that Lakshmi is chanchal. It doesn't stay at one place. But you also see that with some, like if we talk about rich families, it really stays, it's stable. But with some it goes up and down, and some people that I have seen who have received wealth but they have lost all of it. It really depends on how you use the Lakshmi consciousness and where you're spending. How do you feel while you spend that money on others and on yourself? So when you go shopping and you feel, oh no, I should not spend here. So you're not valuing what is coming to you, as well as you're not valuing the money that goes out.
True that. And I feel that the brilliant thing about money is it only reveals who you are. Okay, and there is a very famous dialogue by Jim Carrey, and I quite like it. And he said that, I really wish everybody should become wealthy and rich very soon, so that they realize that that's not the end of it.
Exactly.
And this I've seen time and again, even myself, that when you begin to attract abundance, you begin to have new desires. And sometimes the desires really baffle you. And maybe you had not thought about them when you had no money. And suddenly you have them. And hence money, along with it, brings in a huge potential to know yourself. That's how I always look at money, from a place of, you got to have a positive relationship with it. I think one of the biggest blocks of abundance is people have been told that money is the root of all evil. Now, if I have this mindset that money is the root of all evil and I'm going to earn money, I've set up a war inside me.
So true.
It's like, do I want to become a devil? No. Then...
And that conflict keeps happening. And that's why there's scarcity but not abundance.
There's not abundance.
And this is also in context of spirituality.
True that.
So if you are spiritual, then you should not go go behind money.
True that.
And you should not have money if you're spiritual. But this is such a wrong belief and myths.
I think, way people...
And the saints, they left everything and they've gone, so you need not have it. So something on that.
I believe that one of the biggest disservice a lot of so-called awakened people did is maybe what they were saying was different and how we interpreted was different.
Yes, I would believe in that,
that what they were talking about when they talked about you have to be free from the attachment to money, or let's say the attachment to wealth, they were talking about an internal phenomenon, how you relate to it. Okay, but if you look at the last 20 years, I think we are healing in that regard.
Yes.
A lot of spirituality is becoming money positive. Okay. And I'm quite happy and glad to see that, because we come from this tradition where it was almost inculcated in us that if you have too much money, you have to first let it all go if you have to take the first step towards your spirituality. That's how it was positioned. Okay. But here is what I love is what Osho said. He said, if a pauper one day comes up and says, I want to leave everything and I want to go in seeking of God, he said, it's not a big deal. But if you have been a king, or if you have created something and then you leave it for that pursuit, then that means something. So I feel that if you are not really good with money right now, and if you are listening to this, making money could make you more spiritual.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
rather than attempting any spirituality which is not embodied. And I believe that the more you begin to truly honor your being, you begin to attract. And this process is distinct for each person. It doesn't happen the way we imagine. I still get surprised by it. But I feel that it begins when you drop the conflict that if I am going behind money, then I'm not being spiritual. Or if I'm being spiritual, then I have to let go of money. I think that's one freedom we have to seek.
Raj, what could be two most powerful tools for self-exploration? There may be many, but two that the audience can use it.
I think personally I find journaling is very powerful, and second is intentional traveling. And I love it because I feel that traveling, we don't really see it as tool, but if you look at all the old traditions, a lot of spiritual traditions, if you look at, they have always had this whole one element of doing some kind of a pilgrimage. And I was always very fascinated that what could be the connection, whether you're on a spiritual journey or even, you know, when I was a kid, I remember when somebody in the house used to not be well, sometimes the doctor would come and he would say in Marathi again, so hawa pani change kela paile. Which means you have to send this person away to some place. But as I grew up and as I began to experiment with different self-help tools, I think these two really kind of stuck with me, and I find them to be most useful when they're used together also. Like most of my travels, I always carry a fresh journal, and it's like for each of my long travels, I have a small journal. I may not finish the whole journal, but I would like to have a record of my own reflections and what I'm doing the travel for.
So what is journaling? I have been doing it for years, but I want you to tell in detail.
So journaling, I would say in the simplest term, is your ability to express what is happening inside you, in your inner world, out onto paper.
Yeah.
That's simple, okay? But what journaling can be used for is much more than that, okay? For example, there's this very powerful exercise which I think Julia Cameron talked about and which I highly espouse. It's called morning pages, okay? Anybody who's feeling stuck, whether in the area of money, whether in the area of creativity, you could be a writer, director, in any creative field, if you're feeling stuck, I normally recommend you do morning pages, which is you get up in the morning and for the first thing that you do after you're brushing your teeth and all that, or sometime even before that, you sit and write for 3 pages. And what you write, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that is going on in your head, it's like a personal catharsis process. Without having to bother anybody, without having to shout, you can write there, I'm feeling crappy, I had this great nightmare, I'm still thinking about my anxiety, you know, whatever that is going on, you know, you just put this up. So this journaling, I call it the dumping journaling. So you have to have a dumping journal. So I use my dumping journal in the morning where I dump stuff. Okay, if I've had a bad day, if I've had, let's say, an altercation with somebody and there are things which I couldn't say, my dump journals knows everything because I dump it there. A, it is very good for your mental health. B, once you have done that, you actually feel relieved. But the beauty of that is you have to do it.
And when you create space in you to get more maybe fresh ideas, fresh thoughts, and
it's
then
a way of
different
like,
also.
it's like an inner cleansing.
Yeah.
It's like a cleansing too. So that is one. The second, I call it as reflective journaling. Reflective journaling is, sometimes I give people a question and I say, you have to ask this question every day morning and you have to actually write the answers. Okay, the question remains the same, but the answers can change.
Like a question?
For example, my favorite one, okay, which I give for this, is who I am going to be today. Okay. And each day you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Okay. And this choice could be different. Like today you could say that, oh, today I'm going to be ecstatic, exciting, and I'm going to just be a source of love, okay, wherever I go. And then you go through that. In the evening you come back, and this is where that journaling prompt gets over, is then you describe how your day was. So in the morning you start with an intention, and the evening when you come and you write how the day was, you actually see the contrast. When you do this for 7 days, you actually begin to see that not only things have shifted in you, but because you're consciously writing, you are more aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the power of writing. Okay. Another small piece I always want to say about journaling, most people think a lot. Okay. All of us, I feel. Okay. And I believe journaling is where you really come to the present moment with your thoughts. Because your pace of writing and your pace of thinking are two different paces. Our thinking pace is too fast.
Yeah.
So when you begin to start journaling and writing down what's happening with you, you automatically calm down. What you're dealing with, whatever you're focused on, your focus becomes really laser sharp. And hence it is most important that you journal, you write things down.
Yeah. And then you can even touch base with your feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're more centered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you can make the right choices and take the right decisions.
Yes.
And also journaling, when you go back and look at what you had written
what
earlier.
you had written,
and that helps you to make a decision today.
True that, yeah. Like for example, I always couple traveling with journaling. For example, I normally say, anyways, we all plan travels, we all like to travel. I say, make your travel.
Before you go there, what is the difference between a traveler and being a tourist?
Good question. Because I've been both, I can maybe answer from a personal point of view. A traveler is interested in witnessing, in experiencing, and is interested in deep, meaningful experience of his travel. A tourist is just watching places. For example,
doing a tick mark. I have to go to
when
this
I was
place.
traveling as a tourist, I only had to do a tick mark. I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this. I have pictures here, pictures here, pictures here. That's a tourist. Okay. A traveler is somebody who likes to enjoy the place. A traveler is somebody like I really like to do 3 things in my travel. A, connect with some local. B, eat some nice local food. And 3, because I love swimming, if they have oceans, if they have rivers, whatever water bodies they have, I want to dip in it. Because I feel that when I dip into water, I actually feel the place. Or I want to like to, lie down on the grounds. And there are some places which have become my favorites, across my travel. Like there's this one river in Germany. It's super cold. It's crazy. But I was staying with a very dear friend of mine in Munich. And one day she said, "What are you doing in the afternoon?" I said, "No, I don't have much work." She said, "Okay, let's go swimming." And she took me there. I cannot forget that experience. A, the water was chilled. B, it was super strong. And 3, we were stark naked. Like skin dipping is quite easy there. And when we entered the water, for the first time, I felt that I don't think I'll be able to come out of it because I was like shivering, like body reacts to that. But after some time, when I really acclimatized with that temperature, whatever you say, I found a stone and I sat and I could really feel this whole river flowing across me. I can't really tell you how it felt, but actually it felt like whatever that I was carrying. And by the way, that's the time I was processing a heartbreak. Whatever which I was not able to let go, I think that day the river took everything away. When I stepped out, I felt empty, I felt tired, and after that we had a nice cup of coffee, and I think it was one of the nicest, warmest mug of coffee I must have enjoyed because of the contrast from the cold water. So I think travel does change you. And yes, I can keep talking about traveling.
But this is something that I have learned from you. And I have been traveling for so many years, the length and breadth, and staying near a river for months, staying near the ocean, in the mountains. And so we'll be talking more about that as well in the future podcast. But what I'm saying is, this really brings what you said, this powerful tool for people to do self-exploration, is what you said. Something more on this?
Yes. Intentional travel. For example, I feel that if your travel is coupled with an intention, it helps your subconscious. For example, maybe I can give a personal example and then maybe for a client. So, in 2019, I made a decision that I want to travel for 3 months. Okay, and I decided I want to go backpacking in Europe. And when I was taking a decision, I was not sure how this is going to roll up because my work requires me to be personally working with people. And I made an arrangement that I would be also partially working and partially traveling, at least for the first month, but the other 2 months I would not. And I kept my intention. I had 3 intentions. One was personal transformation, second was abundance, and third was my new work. And how you make it intentional is when you're beginning the travel, I say on your intention you write something as to why do you want this, what is it, X, Y, Z. B, then travel becomes a backdrop for you. So for example, after my first month of traveling, I found a quiet place because there were too many things happening. I was visiting friends, staying with friends, staying in Airbnbs, and then I had to go to a friend's place where I got a little breathing time. And then I asked myself a question, in the last 1 month, what changed in me? What transformed in me? In last 1 month, what have I learned about creating abundance? In last 1 month, what has changed in my ability to look at my new work? And believe me, by the time I came back from travel, I remember when I came back, I was so inspired to do a taboo workshop that I immediately came back and announced that I said, this is what I want to do first. Okay, I think you were part of that workshop. Okay, and the other thing which it changed in me is I noticed something very strange about money on that trip. Okay, because I traveled to a country where rupee was too high a currency, and I also traveled to a country where rupee was quite devalued. And I slowly began to understand something inherent about money, that in each country there is a different consciousness and the way people relate to a certain amount. Okay, when you don't have that consciousness, you actually have more freedom. So I had more freedom with the word million than the word crore, for example. Okay, and I play these little games. Because I come from a little background of NLP, and I feel words and the way they associate, okay, it kind of changes. So sometimes it's a good idea when you travel, you have to learn how to forget the value equation. And for me, that was a deep learning in abundance. For example, anything that you want to have in life, okay, if you have priced it too much in your head, if you pedestalize it too much in your head, it would be very difficult for you to get it.
Because you feel it's already out of reach.
Okay. But in some other place, the same thing is of no value. And when you see this contrast, something shifts in you. And other reason why travel is very important is it actually gets you out of the rut physically. Okay, it physically moves you into a different experience. So it has a potential to transform your body. Honestly, I became more conscious of my health after my travel trips, because suddenly you realize that, oh, I have to walk up this hill, but I'm not that fit. And then you're like, shit, man, I have to do this. Okay. So sometimes that helps. It's
So journaling and intentional traveling are the most important tool at the moment that you would like to share, but there are many
others.
Many of them.
I can share many, but I think for now, maybe these two.
Yeah. And I also know, Raj, that you have said during your workshops and otherwise that it is important to shift your base every 5 to 7 years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why do you say that?
Okay, so I believe in this simple cycle which is always unfolding, and I think in the Indian spirituality or mythology it is talked about as Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Okay, so Brahma relates to creating, Vishnu relates to sustenance, and Mahesh is to destroy. Okay, so I believe that we are habits of creature, and if we don't change consciously, we can slowly adapt to what is, and our growth can stop. Okay. So, for example, I believe that I'm sure you must have had this experience when you are moving to a new house. There's a different enthusiasm depending on what is happening in your life at that time, and you're picking and choosing, and you have choice as to what you can get in the house and what you can't, especially the big stuff, your beds and stuff like that. After some time, a certain monotony sets in. Let's say you've grown in your work, you've grown in your family and XYZ. And this is a time I begin to feel people begin to make a very common mistake. And the mistake is, this is it. Okay, I think I've arrived. And I've seen whenever somebody says that they have arrived, is where the degradation starts.
It's like getting into the comfort zone.
In the comfort zone. Okay. Now, why shift your base? Okay. I done it because I believe, for me, it's a very powerful, not only metaphorical, but physical change. I have to now go to a new place. I have to adopt to a new place. In the adoption, I learn a lot of new things about myself, about my needs. B, even the equation in the house changes. Like, for example, recently I have moved, and what I'm noticing is my mom and dad, who I thought they would resist this change, they are enjoying this the most.
How come?
Because in the new place, just when you get out of the building, there is a big park. And my dad said that when I was a kid, I had this desire that I step out and there is a park. So he really enjoys the time there. My mother loves to eat a lot of snacks, okay, in the evening especially. So the other day she went around and she's still exploring the area, and she found this one guy who makes some amazing vada pavs and stuff like that. And she's like, this is a nice place, man. There's 6-7 other stalls here. So, it's like little things, but I enjoy it because I feel it was fine where we were living. But now that they're exposed to this new experience, I also see the childlike joy in them as back. My father loves going on the terrace. We kind of live on the top floor, so the view from there is very nice. And earlier we were living in a row house, so we never had access to how things seem. So I feel a lot of things change when you change. And I think it's a welcome change.
5 to 7 years?
So that is, again, I feel that our life follows a cycle of 5 to 7 years. Okay. Anything like 7, I like to believe, because if you look at even a child, from 0 to 7, a child goes through one entire life cycle. Okay. From 7 to 14. So let's say at 7, it's just a child still. Okay. But by 14, the adolescence comes in, the puberty is going to hit in soon. Okay. From 14 to 21 is the most difficult time, because you're going to confront physical changes, you're going to confront relational changes, you're going to confront the biggest changes, how your parents are going to relate to you, and how you have to be in the world. That's what starts. But if you look at cycles after that, which is 21 to 28, okay, and not necessarily that, but let's say you're in a job. Okay, for the first 2 years you're figuring out. Okay. Once you've figured out the system, next 3 or 4 years you're rocking the system. You know XYZ. By the time you're at the peak, a lot of people who have worked with you, they have either moved, they have retired and all that, and everything is gone. Maybe, it's like the downward curves happens. Now here, if you stay there longer,
But the funny thing is coming up for me. So what about relationships? They say it's a 7-year itch in marriage. However, what do you say? Then in relationship, they have to change.
No, I don't mean to say they have to change relationship. But every 5 to 7 years, it's a good idea to ask who we have become as a couple. And is there a possibility that we can change this?
Okay? Change what?
Change what? Like, for example, I hope this is only meant for adults, so I can say, like I say, once your vanilla years are over, which is the first 2-3 years of marriage or whatever, you should explore some kink. Why not? You will be surprised, because the whole kink dimension that people, look at with a lot of caution and all of that. I like to tell them that kink was oriented by an inner child. Okay, it's an inner child orientation.
But what is a kink?
Kink.
I mean, you are saying something that language not anybody.
So kink is basically those experiences you want to have in your sensual or love or sexual connections.
Or intimacy.
Which are not the ordinary. Like, what is the ordinary? You hug, you cuddle, you kiss, you lay down, you make love, normal. Okay. Now suddenly one day, I can say.
No, it's okay. No, let it be. We will drop it. We'll drop it.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when you try something new and you have a new sensation in the body, suddenly that's something new. Okay, and you don't have to change your partner. You are not changing anything else. You're just changing the experiences you're going to have together.
So the point that we are making here is that we are not saying that you need to change your partner or change anything, but it's about changing your experiences. Have the dialogue with your partner that what is how that you need to change things or where we are today and how do we want to see the next few years together.
Exactly.
And what is that we both want to change is what the point that we are trying to make.
Yeah.
Then the king and the inner child comes.
Then the inner child comes. Okay.
Get that.
Okay.